我走不了了。
这里有一个这大的，
走不了了，走不了。
天哪，你看那个玻璃。
Typhoon Kajiki descended upon the city of Sanya, the jewel of China's southern Hainan Province, with a violence not seen in years. The damage began at the coast, where Sanya is most exposed. The shoreline, usually crowded with visitors and dotted with umbrellas, resorts, and seafood restaurants, became unrecognizable as storms surged and waves swept inland. Wooden piers splintered into fragments that washed ashore. Coastal walkways were stripped of their tiles, with railings bent and concrete cracked under the relentless pounding of water. Dozens of small restaurants and stalls lining the beach were wrecked. Their walls collapsed and their interiors flooded beyond repair. Resorts facing the sea had their ground floors swamped. Their lobbies transformed into shallow lakes as salt water mixed with storm-driven debris. Loungers, umbrellas, and even jet skis were tossed far inland, scattered like toys across gardens and parking lots. Moving inland, Sanya streets bore witness to the storm's fury. Major avenues were transformed into rivers of brown water. The city's drainage system, already strained in ordinary summer downpours, proved entirely inadequate under Kajiki's torrents. In older housing districts, rain seeped through cracked ceilings as tiles and roofing materials were stripped away by wind. Many residents emerged after the storm to find their homes uninhabitable, walls buckled by water, and floors covered in a thick film of mud. The wind, no less than the rain, inflicted its own signature destruction. Trees that once shaded Sanya's boulevards lay toppled in every direction. The iconic palms lining the beachfront, long symbols of the city's tropical charm, were snapped in half or completely uprooted, leaving gaps in once lush landscapes. Street signs, traffic poles, and billboards were torn down, leaving piles of twisted metal at intersections.
Whoa! 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 Whoa!
In several districts, power lines dangle precariously, sparking in the wet air before collapsing entirely. Rooftops peeled away in entire sheets, sending fragments of corrugated metal and tile airborne, crashing into parked cars and neighboring structures.
快走，快走，快走！
Public infrastructure took severe punishment. Multiple substations around the city were knocked offline, plunging entire districts into darkness for hours at a time. Hospitals relied on emergency generators, but even these backup systems struggled under continuous strain, forcing some wards to operate with minimal lighting and limited equipment. Schools across Sanya, though empty due to closures, sustained heavy losses to classrooms and facilities. Government buildings did not escape either, their archives and equipment soaked by water, requiring urgent salvage efforts once the storm passed. Transportation, both within and into the city, was completely paralyzed. Sanya's international airport was forced into shutdown as runways were submerged and winds made aircraft operations impossible. Terminals leaked from multiple points in the roofing, with rainwater streaming through ceilings and pooling on the floor. Parking lots surrounding the airport were flooded, damaging vehicles left behind.
这个玻璃吹的都变形，你看整个都会动，看到没有？整个玻璃都在动。
At sea, the city's ferry terminals were battered by waves, with boarding areas cracked and mooring posts ripped away. Roads across the city were left impassable not only by water, but also by the sheer volume of debris. Uprooted trees, broken lampposts, fragments of roofs, and vehicles stranded in intersections. Several bridges spanning canals or drainage channels suffered erosion damage, raising safety concerns that will take weeks of inspection and repair to resolve. Public buses parked in depots sustained damage from flying debris, while taxis and private vehicles alike were rendered useless after prolonged submersion in floodwaters. The economic toll was immediately evident. Tourism, the central pillar of Sanya's prosperity, collapsed under Kajiki's weight. Luxury hotels, many already operating at high capacity during the summer season, were forced to evacuate guests into safer upper floors or transfer them to emergency shelters. Lobby chandeliers lay in pieces, carpets were ruined by floodwaters, and swimming pools were filled with branches, mud, and trash.
回不了家了，这个车子都卡在这里了，车子都扔在这里了，整条凤凰路都废掉了，真的是没办法了。现在走路回家，整条凤凰路都废掉了，变成这个样子，根本没法回家，车子已经扔在路边了。 哎呀！
靠！我家没屋顶了，我家屋顶飞走了。哇！无语了。
Restaurants near beaches and shopping centers lost entire stocks of food due to power outages, while freezers and refrigerators stood in silence. Local vendors in night markets discovered their stalls destroyed, merchandise soaked and unsellable. Souvenir shops lost entire inventories of handicrafts and textiles. The financial shock to thousands of small business owners was compounded by the temporary halt in all visitor traffic, leaving an already fragile economy in distress.
最强海风，常燕儿最强海风，大一片光了。
你瞅瞅，都是我903的窗户，瞅瞅，现在刮下来了。
Agriculture and fisheries, though not as visible as hotels and streets, endured their own devastation. Fishing boats tied to harbors were smashed together by waves, with wooden hulls cracked and nets torn to shreds. Some vessels sank at moorings, their remains jutting out of the water days after the storm. Farmers in the surrounding areas, particularly those cultivating bananas, coconuts, and other tropical fruits, reported vast losses as orchards lay flattened, their crops unrecoverable. Rice fields outside the city were drowned under standing water, threatening the livelihoods of farming families who rely on seasonal harvests. These losses, while less visible to the average resident, represent long-term economic wounds that will linger long after debris is cleared from Sanya streets. Perhaps the most haunting images of Kajiki's damage were found in the heart of the city's neighborhoods. Streets once filled with life were reduced to silent rows of broken homes. Residents emerged to carry soaked bedding, warped wooden furniture, and broken appliances into the open, piling them on sidewalks in the hope of salvage. Electrical appliances, televisions, and washing machines, once expensive investments, lay ruined and rusting in the humid air. Even in upscale districts where newer construction withstood winds better, the sheer volume of flooding left lasting scars. Polished lobbies turned into shallow ponds, elevators disabled, and underground parking garages filled with water and vehicles destroyed beyond repair. Public landmarks, too, bore visible scars. The city's seaside promenades, once a centerpiece of tourism promotion, were cracked and broken, their decorative railings lying in twisted heaps. Public parks lost nearly all tree cover, with once-green lawns replaced by muddy fields scattered with branches. Cultural centers and museums sustained damage to their outer structures, leaving curators scrambling to protect collections from humidity and water intrusion. Recreational areas such as playgrounds and sports courts were rendered unusable, their equipment broken, and their surfaces covered with thick layers of debris and mud. While restoration efforts began swiftly, the reality of the damage is that recovery will take far longer than the storm itself lasted. Clearing debris and pumping water from streets may take days, but rebuilding roofs, repairing infrastructure, restoring tourism, and reviving agricultural output will stretch into months.
我一看地上是我的。